Hey, Kamo man, how you doing?
I'm good on you, Itumeleng.
I'm good, thanks, man. Please tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Kamo? Where did you grow up? Things like that.
So I grew up in Garankuwa, but just for a couple of years when I was still young. That's a township in Pretoria, and then we moved to the suburbs at a very young age. So yes, there's a bit of privilege there, I must say.
Cheese
And
boy.
eh?
Cheese boy.
Ah, no. No comment. And then as I think the younger, the earlier ages, I can't remember much, but from high school I attended Pro Arte. It's an art school actually. So I really enjoyed it. The nice thing about Pro Arte is that you get to experience different sort of forms of industries than at an early age than just looking at your maths, science, and geography and history. So we had vast amounts of subjects to pick from. And one of those subjects that I picked was computer studies.
Yeah.
At a very young age, I was fortunate to be in a school that actually offered computer studies. So that I was very passionate about that and mathematics. So I think I really enjoyed that as a kid. I remember my first computer was actually bought by my parents for my oldest brother. But he wasn't using it, it was a thing, kids. Hey, I want this, use it for a month, and afterwards that thing is sitting there. So I just started clicking around, playing around with it, playing games, finding out some games and stuff like that. So that's how I gained that little interest when I was young. On just from it's grade 10 now, yeah. At that age to go into computers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So sounds like an interesting childhood, and you talking a little bit about your brother. So, did you matriculate at the same school, or what happened? Where did you matriculate?
Um, I matriculated at Pro Arte, same school.
Yeah.
So it was very good, very challenging. Taught me a lot about computers and a lot about different people and all of that. I mean, art schools you get your artists, if you know artists, and then you get a formal person like me who's interested in computers and business studies and all these things, mixing around with artists. So you can imagine what kind of a school I was in.
No, it sounds like it was fun, and it can show. I can see some of those personalities coming through from
It quite shocks some people sometimes. I
you.
shock myself sometimes when it's just that art side of things come through. Like,
Creatives are beneficially for everyone. I think
yeah.
it's a nice way of expanding your thinking,
Mm,
and it's a nice way to see a world in a different view than the conventional structure and process, which is quite fun.
mm, mm.
So tell me something. Did you have any plans after matric? Did you know what you wanted to study? What happened after matric?
Actually, after matric was a bit of a confusion because I was very good in accounting and I was very good in computer studies. Now, the problem there that came in was the parents, you know. Uh, Parents very conventional in terms of what you're gonna study, the careers that we know that bring money or that yield to success, being a lawyer, being a doctor, and one of those was being an accountant, or as we know, a chartered accountant.
Yeah.
So my parents were just, you know, chartered accountant. You have to. So the funny thing is that I was very good at computers and I really enjoyed them. Which is for me was that moment that caught on me because the most of my teacher was really for go study computer science, and obviously on the other side, the accounting teacher saying the same. But so I was very confused in saying, okay, do I follow my parents or do I just go head on with following what we can say passion? I'm not for it. I'm not for it because I always have some nightmares of my child telling me I want to go study something, and it's like
that's not what you should
yeah. So I think at that moment when I took the decision to say I want to go study computer science, it was a case of I really, really love this thing. You know, I was so good at it that I don't see another option. The other one, I probably would have just said it's just for the parents.
Yeah.
But this one, I really loved it, and I was good. You know, I think it was a balanced scale. I applied to University of Pretoria, and then I got accepted in there. Oh, funny enough, so there was a bursary opportunity for the CA side of things.
Yo.
Hey.
So everything was against you, actually.
Yo, it was hard. And then at that bursary opportunity, I won't confess that I didn't give it my all. It happened that I didn't get the bursary.
You're gonna tell your parents why?
Yeah, but the hardship of it is that I had to pay for. My parents paid for what 2 years of my tertiary, and I had to pay for the rest of it. Sure. So that I think that's what got to bite me off.
You went off to UP to study computer science.
Yeah.
And how long was that?
The computer science degree is actually 3 years. I'm not sure now, but back then it was 3 years, as we call record time. But for me, it was not record time. I think it's the challenges of my first year was terrible.
Yeah.
So you can imagine when already you were like, let me go into computer science, and the parents were saying accounting, and then you come to first year and it's a totally different atmosphere. You don't get, there's no mentorship, there's nothing. You're just thrown into it and say, there you go. And for me, I only had one friend from the same high school that actually I was with in that we could sort of try be buddies in tertiary. Yeah. The problem is that we were studying 2 different courses. That's why. Once he got his course, into his course, he found new friends. So I was stuck. Me, the introvert, was like, hey, it's hard. So it was a hard time the first year, but I caught on from the second year. I didn't give up, and then it led up to 4 years. And then I found out that people do it for longer. So
when you said computer science, initially I was thinking, sure, maybe for my 5 years, 6 years, somewhere there. That course is very hard.
No, that's how it actually goes. 4, 5, 6 years for some people. So actually 4 years was still a good effort.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So you spoke a little bit about the element of your parents funding some of it and you funding some of it. So how did you manage to fund some of your studies?
So then the thing is, my parents managed. I think it's also a good or a lucky thing to mention is that my parents managed to get a study loan from a bank. Yeah. So they were approved for the study loan, and that study loan, I guess it was a case of, hey, chief, we got you this far, finish off, and then once you finish off, when you start working, you'll sort yourself. You'll sort it out. You know, not that it was easy for them to be in that position. I mean, I can imagine for a parent, obviously, you want to give your children the best. But at that time, it was a case of they did what needed to be done. So they took on the study loan, and then once I finished, I guess I had a mandate to just grow up and get into it. The nice thing is that I maintained discipline to pay it off in 1 year. So
fantastic.
Yeah. So it was difficult. I mean, imagine new money, a job now. First year, I'm like, you know what? This thing is gonna be a burden in my life. Let me just cut it out. So I managed at 10 to 12 months, I managed to cut it off. Pay it all off. So yeah.
So that tells us you went into a nice paying job straight after your studies.
Not really. Internship is hard. Internship is difficult because you generally don't get paid a lot for when you are a junior. When you just getting into the work environment. I think it's the same phase as going from high school to tertiary. Moving from tertiary to the work environment is a whole nother phase. So yeah, the money was it was good because I didn't handle that amount of money before. Yeah. So yeah, new money things.
All right. So you finished your qualification, got into an internship. How long was the internship?
It wasn't really an internship because you don't necessarily have an internship. Back then in our industry, we didn't have an internship kind of things or programs necessarily. They were fairly new, especially in our industry. So I would say I did a fair bit of being a junior. It was for like 18 months.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think in 18 months it was really good to say, hey, actually, I know how things are starting to go around or to happen. I can apply for other work now with confidence.
All right, that's cool. So from there, what did you do? What was your next phase in your?
So lucky enough, so I have two older brothers, and both of them were starting their own businesses. So I had that exposure of my brothers trying out their own businesses, and I was just curious. I was just like, hey, what are these guys up to? Because I don't see them in suits or anything. What are they up to? So I think for me, there was always that curiosity lingering. So every time I would apply for a job and look for a better job, I always had that curiosity at the back of my head. But besides the point, from being a junior, I was more interested in computers. I've always been interested since high school. So I think for me, from there, I just wanted to know more. The company that I started at did not give me that what I wanted in terms of knowing more. I think I got enough as a junior to start off to kickstart my career, but the next level was a matter of saying, okay, now you have to move to being mid-level, and it's new challenges. So I went in there to say I want new challenges, regardless of how hard it was, which it was hard. Because the new company I went to, it was less sleep. It was less sleep. So I'd sleep even at I'd finish work sometimes at 8. Sleep, go home, work, continue working, sleep at 12, wake up at 6, back to the office. So it was hard, but I was up for the challenge.
Sure. So you're looking to develop yourself. Was it a specific aspect of computer science that you pursued, like programming or maintenance and things like that?
Yeah. So I mean, on my side, I was always interested in software development. Okay. So I think there were some applications initially when at school there's these companies that come and they present themselves and they say you guys must apply and all those things. So I wasn't a fan of the companies that already had software.
Okay.
So I wasn't a fan of your SAPs, your Ciscos, and all those things. I wasn't a fan of those kind of companies who created software for me just to maintain and support and use and reuse or consult. So I'm like, no, I want to be at the heart of actually building software. So I think that's always been my passion. So even when I looked for another company to work for, I always ask the questions of what is in the job. Am I part of the building and the constructing of the new software, or am I just maintaining and managing?
Okay. And then, so I mean, if I think about what you said a bit earlier, your brother's new ventures were at the back of your head. You are looking for organizations that are kind of in the sort of beginning phases of building software from scratch. And you are kind of caught up in the two worlds. So at what point did you decide this is what I want to do? I'm pursuing a full-time career, or maybe I'm going into business like my brothers?
Hey, that's a tough one. I think like I said, it's always been lingering. I ended up working, I think, for 4 years, I think, it's around there. But it's always been lingering as the more I improved, it was the more of, okay, you need to think of being independent, kind of a thing, you know. But initially, I emphasized on being an expert.
Okay. All right.
In terms of skill, before saying now I can just do this thing, you know. So I focused on being an expert and knowing or being very, very good at this thing, you know, at software development. So once I got to a point where you are sitting with people in a boardroom, or you are sitting with people in an office or in a meeting, where you're like, okay, maybe I know a bit more than most of these people. I think that's when it hit. Like, okay, maybe you know a bit more than a lot, because when you're stuck in just in an office, you're confined just to that office. But luckily enough, I found myself improving to a point where the current boss or manager started taking me to meetings, you know. And then those meetings showed me that, hey, actually, you do know a lot. So then from there, I'm like, it's always nerve-wracking. I think, like you said, there's this thing that you want to do in jumping ship, but there's also staying in the work life or the corporate life. And staying in the corporate life comes with a lot of dependencies. Number one is your financial dependency. The most is the financial dependency. So what I did when I started improving my career or moving from one job to another, I went in there with an intention of keeping my lifestyle very minimal. Yeah, because I always knew that it was always lingering of, okay, maybe like this entrepreneurship thing or this business thing is something to go into. So I knew, but I also used to read a lot of books. So I got into reading a lot of business books as time went, and entrepreneurial books. And most of the guys did mention that don't get caught up in the dependencies, especially the financial ones. So I went into it, keeping my lifestyle pretty low. I don't know what happened to the money, because it's not that I was saving at that time. I think I'm sure we're getting to where it went.
we must ask accountants what is happening with the money.
I saved up a lot of money, some money to start the business, but yeah, it's never enough.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming at this point now you were ready to start off your business after you've saved up enough. What was the idea of the business at the back of your mind?
So I think for me, being exposed to my brothers, I started talking to my brothers about it, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I'm like, okay, you know what? Sometime I have to just do this thing.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, okay, teach me. I just asked them, can you show me how to register a company and stuff? I used the internet back then also. Not that you could register on the internet in South Africa at that time.
I was about to say, Sipsi got it right a few years ago.
Just now, actually. Just now. They just got it right just now. But yeah, back then it was a hassle. So I had to call. He gave me numbers. Call this lady. She will help you. Called her. I'd like to register a company. Okay, sharp. I registered the company, and then opened a bank account. And then it was just a runaround frenzy thing, you know. But at that time I was still working. So I'm like, okay, I have to prepare myself. Let's see how it goes. And then what I did, I started taking some freelance jobs, or as we call it, moonlighting, after hour work. that makes work even more difficult. But I managed to, what I did, I separated my salary from the freelance work. So the freelance work went then straight into the business account, which helped, so that also when I let go, there's a bit of money in there. So yeah, when I jumped ship, there was money that I had saved, but it wasn't enough to pay my salary at that time. So I literally was earning half of what I was earning when I left my job. So what the money that I saved up could only afford me half of the salary I was earning. So that's how realistic it became, and how tough it actually became. But it only got tougher. I thought it was tough then, and then it only got tougher.
So, yeah. That sounds interesting, but at least you already had a principle of living as a minimalist. So you could still afford your life, I'm assuming, to still carry yourself and still figure out how to make the business work.
Yes, because I think that's what helped me a lot. I was used to the lifestyle of living as a minimalist, but which helped when I earned half the salary. Yeah, my friends found it hard. Yeah, because there was no going out. I mean, it's the reality of things. There was no going out. I had to cut that out. Less entertaining girlfriend. no entertainment. What? You know, all those things. And at that time, I hadn't bought a car yet, so I was still using my mother's car.
Sure.
So I literally jumped ship because, like I said, I wanted to keep the expenses low. Obviously, I didn't tell my parents, but I kept the parents' car, which the car I shared with my brother. So we would share the car. We would just exchange it. Yeah, it was a Toyota Conquest.
Yeah.
Those days. So yeah, me and my brother would share it, and just exchange. But I was like, you know what? We can live with this thing. I'm okay. I'm not gonna buy a new car. I'm okay. So yeah.
Sure. Cool. So now you ventured into your own company. Was it your first venture, or did you have many other ventures after that?
Sure. I think now, because the current one that I'm running it's working out. I mean, regardless of COVID challenges, but it's, you know, I think as an entrepreneur I've tried to block out the ones that failed. intentionally to just to avoid putting myself in negative mindsets. But I think, yeah, I'll mention them. I had one online business. It was a restaurant business that failed. I had and then I opened a cleaning company that failed. Sure. And then I think after the cleaning company failed, then I was like, hey, I know things are not happening here, you know. hey. So it was really rough. And then so then what happened is that then I joined my brother. Right. So what happens that when I was running the cleaning company, I'm like, hey, let me also join my brother on it. So I ran the cleaning company while working with my brother, helping him out on some things. And then I think after a couple of years, then what happened is, I think it was the 2019 economic recession. I think 2019, 2008, 2009, just before the World Cup, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was hard. That was hard. The car was starting to feel the heat. So the car was causing problems. There was no more income coming in because I had exhausted the savings, the money that I had saved was getting exhausted. The small little clients that I had were not living up, but because of the economy was not that good, things were not picking up. So then I talked to my brother. Then he's like, okay, we clearly need a new car, you know, because it's not working out. So for the business not to fail and other things, I'm like, hey, Chief, I think let me go back to work, do stint to get some money to improve the credit record, because our credit record was gone. And then I went back, I think, to work during 2010 for about was it 12 months, I think, around there. But it could afford us to get a car. So same strategy, went back, minimal lifestyle. But at least our intention was, let's get a car. So credit record got back into shape. We got a car, and then I had to plan my exit again ahead. And funny enough, I used the same strategy: save, register a new company, which is the company I'm running now. Save, quit. But same thing happened. The savings ran out, and then you have to ask yourself, is what I'm doing worthwhile, and why am I doing what I'm doing? Yeah.
Sure. And then now you've been running your company for, I'm assuming it's for a few years now, because you said it's one of those that's been running. So how long have you been running it, and what do you think has helped you with this one in comparison to the other ones?
I think it's just learning on the job, or if I can say, learning on the streets. For now, I was like, there's no going back. I really was like, there's no going back regardless. So when I registered this, I've been in it for 7 years now. So when I registered it, and when I quit, and when I was in it, I'm like, there's no going back, no matter how hard it can be. And it got really hard. Very, very hard. I'll leave the details to if I write a book one day, should I get to that point.
You should.
So we'll leave those hardship details out for now. It was really hard. Yeah, to a point where you know that if you go back to your parents and ask them for money, they'll say, "Go back to work. What are you doing?"
Yeah.
You know, which I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I mean, for them, they put you through school and all those things, and they just want you to have a good livelihood. So for me, it was there's no going back. No one is taking me back, and you just have to work through it. So then, yeah, I mean, I pushed really hard to a point. Oh, actually, one blessing that I have is that my previous employer was actually happy.
Sure.
She was very excited for me, and she even said, "I'll support you." So I think that's one thing I'm very fortunate for in my life when it came to the transition of work and building or starting a business. So don't burn any bridges where you're working, guys. Please don't burn any bridges where you are working. You can establish very good relationships that can actually build your company. And to be honest, that was the integral part, the foundation of me staying in business. She just kept motivating me. She just kept encouraging me. She just even kept giving me the work because I was a manager in the company at that time. But then she's like, "Hey, you know what? Let's continue the relationship as is." Actually, it was, she said, "Oh, actually, let's do this. Keep coming in part time and then keep running your business part time." So she allowed me those kind of things. And then after some time, she knew that we need to chop the hours off until I can stand alone. So I think that kind of support was very, very integral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. It sounds amazing. I mean, it sounds like you identified someone who could mentor you through the process, and show the talent you have, and potentially kind of groomed it in the right direction as well, which is quite cool.
Yeah, that was very great. I mean, it's very rare to find mentors, especially in terms of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So she played a very big part, and she like there was a point where we lost touch. I think after I stopped doing work for her, we lost a bit of touch. And then a year or two, we got back in touch again, and she just asked me, "Hey, it seems like you're doing very well. How many people are you employing? What? And now you are just speaking on a different level now."
Yes. Now you're peers.
Yeah. So even though she still mentors me with a lot, but now it's like it's just on a different level, which is very, very nice.
Yeah. Sure. So that is awesome. And I mean, I must say, you must feel proud of yourself considering you've had some challenges with some startups, and now you're able to secure jobs for your employees. I mean, even now with these challenging times, you secure jobs. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the challenges of running a company? Because I think sometimes it looks easy from outside, startup. Are there funding opportunities? Is it much easier now as compared to when you started, or is it you still think it's a little bit as hard as it always has been?
Yeah, I think I'd say it's as hard as it's always been. Otherwise, I would think I'm talking from a privileged point of view in terms of experience. I don't know what other guys are going through at this stage, but funding is really difficult. I mean, when I started the company. I basically started it from my savings. And it wasn't that much, to be honest. If I had to take half of my salary, and even the money that I had, it was for livelihood, my personal livelihood. It wasn't necessarily for the capital in the business. So it was difficult. The bank is not going to fund you at the beginning unless you have a great idea. I mean, I just wanted to run a software development company. It's not really an amazing idea. It's like just saying I'm starting an accounting firm. It's not that amazing, but so yeah, it was hard. The most I would say I've gotten was 15,000 from my parents,
Sure.
Yeah, once that happens, you know, they think 15,000 is gonna grow the company and make it. You must start driving a BMW the next month. 2 years, first year, second year, 3 years, they still ask you, how? Must I gave you 15,000? What's going on? So I mean, that's the only capital I can say that I got was 15,000 rand from the parents. But from there on, it was really building from scratch, from as little as knowing how to send out an invoice, learning how to send out an invoice, learning what debit credit is, accounting, all these things. You learn on the job. But in terms of funding opportunities now, I think there are better avenues than we had. I mean, the fact that internet now is more open and broad and allows for people to apply online and stuff like that, which for us at that stage it wasn't there. So I think there are better avenues to look for funding, or more broader avenues to look for funding. Whether you get it or not,
different story.
Different story altogether.
But at least you have tried.
You have to try. You have to try. And I wouldn't encourage anyone to start a business with the only idea of saying, if I get funding, then I'm shutting. I mean, if I don't get funding, then there's no point. Then you can't start a business with that intention. Then your intention is totally wrong from the onset. Yeah.
Sure. That's quite interesting, Kamo. I mean, listening to you talk about the idea of business and the life of a businessman, it's quite interesting. So what I'm curious about is, how did you sort of develop yourself in learning some of the things you need to know about running a business? So you're good in developing software, but you need to generate profit. So how did you teach yourself, at what point am I making money so that I see this thing is viable or not?
Sure. So if there are people who will really give you the reality of your business, it's accountants.
Yeah.
When you open up a business, first thing, get an accountant. Right? Get an accountant, pay them whatever money they're asking for, but get an accountant. They'll show you the reality of your business, because as entrepreneurs, we just go-getters. We are experimental, we try things out, no matter how much money it might cost you. But then you go back at the end of the month and the accountant shows you, hey, chief, that you are trying, or I'm not sure what you are doing, but you are trying to run a business, but it doesn't look like a business. So I think at the beginning, because you are very positive and energized and stuff like that, you'll overlook what the accountant says. But it's only a matter of time where you actually start seeing the reality of things to say, hey, you won't grow. You won't grow. You'll remain in the same position for a very long time if you don't change things. So I had to step out of my geekiness, to say, or my what you call introvertedness in running a company, to being more versatile in terms of the skills that I need to build in order to help me move the company forward. So it was difficult because you are learning things that you are not taught. You have to know what sales things are. You have to know what turnover, all those things, all that lingo. You're like, okay, sharp. And then if I don't pay tax, what happens? All those questions. Yeah, we always flirt with the tax man.
How far can I go?
How far can I go now with the tax man? Not too far. Yeah, but I think it will push you to a point where you are on the verge of even shutting down to realize that you need to change or adjust yourself.
Yeah.
So for me, I looked at online resources, but it's not only about me, is that also I started talking to other entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
You know, just to get information. And an entrepreneur will never give you everything. They'll always just give you a bit. The rest you do yourself. unless you want to go to school for any business knowledge, that's also fine. But if you're just gonna talk to entrepreneurs, they'll just say, do this, do that, do that, do that. You know, but you'll still get burnt. So it happened, and I got burnt, but I got up and kept trying and trying and trying. And also you realize that sometimes the accountant that you have then is only there to manage a certain amount of money that you have. Once you move to another position financially, then you need to get a different accountant because they understand different things differently. So I think my adjustment, that's one of my adjustments in terms of upskilling myself aggressively. Number two, the business was starting to get stagnant. So lucky enough, I got a partner who's into sales.
Yeah.
Because I could do the job, you know, in terms of inside the company, but I couldn't sell. Most of the clients that I got was word of mouth. Hey, you know, Kamo does this. Kamo has a company. You know, just like any company starts. You know, anyone who starts a company is word of mouth. Up until no one is like, hey, Chief, are you still doing that thing? And that's where it starts. That's where it ends. You know, but now you are like, I know I have to expand beyond these people. So luckily, I got a partner who's into sales. Very good sales guy. And he taught me a lot of things as much as I taught him a lot of things. He didn't know the lingo, or he didn't know necessarily too much of what he's selling. I didn't know a lot about clients. I don't know about human interaction that much. So he helped me quite a lot. So I'd say when you are looking for a partner, look for someone who is not doing the same thing as you.
Yeah.
That will help a lot. Yeah.
Awesome. So you found a partner, you guys are doing quite well. And I mean, I think it's important to note some of the hurdles you had to go through. It doesn't seem like it has always been a smooth road. And you gave some wisdom around finding the right people to help, your partner, the accountant, sorting things with Mr. Taxman so that you don't get into trouble. And I think those are things that people don't know when they start up a company. And I think it's useful that you shared that with us. Any additional advice that you want to give someone who's looking and listening to us and saying, hey, I think I want to start a company and this guy has inspired me?
Oh, there's a lot, but I'll try shorten it. I think I've said enough to kickstart some people. Don't try to do everything yourself. Learn how to delegate. So which means that you would have to hire early, right? So hire early so that you can make your mistakes very early. That's I think the most important piece of advice I'd give now. Hire early so you can make the mistakes very early. What hiring does, it shows you that you shouldn't be doing everything yourself. All right? It shows you that you are paying this person, but how much are they doing? You know, so hire early and don't be scared to pay someone, because I know hiring is because you are thinking, hey, I need to pay someone, you know. And honestly, I know people even now who have started their companies 3-4 years now, and they're doing the same mistakes. And I told them, hire. They're exhausted half of the time. They're just, because also you think the company is not growing. You know, I ask them, where's the money that you are making go into? Hey, you know, my lifestyle. Hey, you know, I'm like, hire early. So I think that's the most important piece. And then mentorship, if you can. It's something I didn't get much at a young age, but because of I found the right employer at that time, lucky enough, not a lot of people go through it. But mentorship is the best thing. even me at the stage of my business, I still get some good mentorship from some entrepreneurs who are on a different level. So mentorship is very important. Someone who can just show you a couple of things around. Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for your time, Kamo. I think I know entrepreneurs, it's a lot of time that you're giving us, and time is money for you. So I really appreciate that you've taken time to share the knowledge, to share the wisdom, and give us insights into what does entrepreneurship look like, starting a business in South Africa during the pandemic and all of these difficult things that we're going through.
Yeah.
I'm sure things are escalatingly becoming difficult, but we're grateful to hear that your business is still running and you're still finding opportunities to grow. I also believe apparently after 5 years, your business is going to grow. So I'm glad you passed that mark.
To grow thick skin. That's all. That's all. You just grow thick skin. The rest.
No, it's quite awesome.
Yeah.
And any maybe parting thoughts before we finish our conversations?
Yeah, I think thank you for hosting me. It's always a pleasure to give these talks. I know you are one of the guys who are like, hey man, I'm going to keep calling you. I'm going to
I will.
So
drops of our time.
So yeah, thank you for that. And I mean, I would you can see with COVID, entrepreneurship is a very important thing. It's a necessary thing for the country. It creates employment, as nerve-wracking as it is. You do take care of other families, who take care of other people, but it's important, it's necessary. So we need it as a country. We need the innovation, we need the development from a young age. I don't understand why we should not be teaching entrepreneurship in high school as a pure subject, necessary subject, just like mathematics. But it's necessary. So whoever is telling themselves, I need to go into entrepreneurship, it's daunting, it's hard, but it doesn't give me a reason to say I'm the only person who can do it. I mean, I'm here. There's many other entrepreneurs I can point you to. It's possible, but it's a hard road. Yeah. So a hard, necessary road. Yeah. So I would encourage anyone to go into it, but be focused, be serious, and just grow the thick skin. I think either way, if there's lack of capital, you'll be forced to grow a thick skin. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I enjoy talking to people. Apart from the little time that I can give, I enjoy talking to people, and hopefully I can grow a bigger business too, so I can mentor others.
Yeah. No, we wish you well, and we hope that we definitely continue hiring.
Not now, after COVID.
Yeah, of course. Keep the ones that we have.
I will, definitely. I'm sure they'll listen to this, so I have to reassure them.
Yeah, and I must tell them to watch. Oh, but thank you so much, Kamo, for your time. I think it was quite insightful. The journey that you've been through, I'm quite happy that you are at the point that you're in, and you've highlighted critical points. I mean, you studied, you've put your own money into the business, you've failed in some instances, you've raised yourself and explored new options. You are now even looking at new opportunities to grow even beyond where you are and sharing the wisdom with others. So that is really powerful. And I mean, we're encouraged to see young Black people like yourself doing this and then building the thick skin, as you put it. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
All right. No, it's a pleasure. By the way, whoever's thinking of starting, I started at the age of 26. That's when I started failing.
Sure. Awesome.
So yeah. I know if you are thinking about it, you're probably older than 26. I
had to pause for a moment there and think age.
Feel young. Start then, yeah. Yeah. So no, it was awesome, man. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you very much for your time.